Good morning and welcome to today's Market Outlook. My name is Edmund and today is a Thursday, 18th of June 2020. For today, we are having a few significant events throughout the whole day. As early as this morning at 9:30 a.m. local Singapore and Malaysia time, we had the employment change and also unemployment rate numbers coming up from Australia this morning. So let us have a quick look and see what was the data released from Australia this morning. So again, we are looking at 9:30 a.m. this morning from Australia. And the employment change numbers, which is pretty much similar to the US non-farm payrolls. For the US, it was released on the first Friday of the month. And for Australia, it is released this morning. Okay, so markets was expecting 105,000 jobs being lost in the month of May. The actual numbers that was released this morning came in at 227,000 jobs being lost. Okay, so this is more than a twofold increase from market expectations of 105,000. So this is definitely bad news for the Aussie dollar. So we're going to have a look at the Aussie dollar shortly. The second data that came out this morning was the unemployment rate. Again, markets was expecting the unemployment rate to be at 6.9%. However, you can see that the actual numbers came in at 7.1%, okay, which is higher than market expectations. So both these data will be theoretically negative for the Australian dollar. Let's just have a quick look at the Aussie dollar this morning. So when we turn this into the 30 minutes chart, we can see that on this candle, okay, again the server time is 4:30. If you are in Singapore, Malaysia, you would need to add 5 hours to this. So 4:30 plus 5 hours would be 9:30. Okay, so at 9:30, as this results was released, okay, at 9:30 a.m., we can see that the Aussie dollar weakened from 0.6876 all the way to 0.6837. So this was a drop of about not too much, 39 pips. Okay, however, we can see that the Australian dollar was actually weakening since yesterday evening. Okay, so yesterday evening, meaning that the Australian dollar was actually trading towards this triangle, okay, squeezing into this triangle. And yesterday at about over here, this is the one, 1800, the server time plus 5 hours will be 2300 hours. This will be 11 p.m. local Singapore and Malaysia time. The Australian dollar, not only was it squeezing into a triangle, it was also finding resistance on the horizontal resistance line. Okay, so at 11 p.m. yesterday, it started to move down from 0.6915 all the way to this morning's low of 0.6835. Okay, so from yesterday evening until this morning, the Australian dollar moved down about 80 pips. Okay, again, nothing major. That is one of the reasons why I usually trade on the UK pound and also on the gold prices, and to a certain extent on the euro dollar. Okay, because usually they provide a larger range of movements. Okay, but no worries. This is just a recap on the news of the Australian employment change and also unemployment rate. Okay, moving on towards the afternoon at 3:30 p.m. Switzerland National Bank will release their monetary policy and also their rate announcement. Okay, so it is not expected to have any major impact on the euro dollar unless the Swiss National Bank cuts their interest rate or changes their interest rate. Okay, so this is the second major event coming up today from the Swiss National Bank, and all eyes of course will be focused towards the evening session, where the UK central government, Bank of England, will be releasing their monetary policy summary and also their official bank rate. This will be announced at 7 p.m. So for those who are trading the UK pound, expect the UK pound to start to form some volumes and some liquidity and also some chart patterns as early as 2 to 4 p.m. local Singapore time. And these chart patterns and movements should lead all the way up to the 7 p.m. announcement. Okay, So as you can see, we're going to look into this in detail later on in the technical chart analysis. But generally, yesterday, the UK pound was trading in a bearish channel. Okay, so we're going to have a look at in more detail during the technical charts analysis. So other major events and economic data coming out today. If you are trading the Canadian dollar, we will be having the ADP non-farm employment change numbers from Canada at 8:30 p.m. And for the US, from the US market, we will be having the Philadelphia Fed Manufacturing Index also at 8:30 p.m. And last but not least, we will be having the unemployment claims numbers. So in terms of after the 7 p.m. event from the UK at 8:30 p.m. If you are trading the Canadian dollar, the ADP non-farm employment change numbers, markets are expecting the numbers to show a 226,000 jobs being lost for the month of May. Again, if the numbers come in anything better than 226,000, for example, it comes in at negative 220,000, negative 200,000, or negative 190,000, theoretically, it is better than market expectations and should be positive or bullish for the Canadian dollar. Okay, so in terms of the Philadelphia Fed Manufacturing Index, markets are expecting a reading of negative 23. Again, if it comes in at negative 20, negative 18, or so on, it should be theoretically bullish for the US dollar. Okay, as we can see, this is the US dollar now. It was or is slightly bullish, but in the larger H4 chart, it is actually consolidating. Okay, consolidating within the range. Okay, so again, we'll look at this in the technical charts analysis section. So coming back to this data for unemployment claims, again, markets are expecting the numbers to come in at 1.3 million Americans filing for unemployment claims. Again, for the last 3 weeks now, the unemployment claims data and also the labor market or jobs report data has been encouraging, with the latest non-farm payrolls numbers on the 5th of June showing that the US economy created about 2.5 million jobs versus an expectation of 7 million jobs being lost. Okay, so the US economy, I would say, has shown a pretty strong recovery in terms of jobs numbers, and tonight's unemployment claims may just come in at about just in line with market expectations or maybe slightly better. Okay, so those are the events for tonight. Watch out for 7 p.m. for those who are trading the UK pound, and movements should start as early as 2 to 4 p.m. and towards the evening we are looking towards the unemployment claims numbers, and again movements should start at about 7 p.m. onwards. Okay, so other major news which was released yesterday, nothing major, it was just economic data. First of all, US Fed chairman was testifying in front of Congress for the second day. His comments and views was not too different or not too far off from his initial comments on the first day of testimony. So there was no major impact from his testimonial. So it came in at here 12 a.m. So as you can see, as he was testifying, there was no major impact on the US dollar yesterday at 12 midnight, which is here, okay, 1900 hours. Okay, so this is no major impact, just a mild retracement down. And of course, on gold prices also there was not a major impact. Okay, this is the one here, 1900 hours. Okay, 19 plus 5, 2400 hours. That was 12 a.m. midnight. Okay, 12 midnight. So no major changes. So other data coming out yesterday. Yesterday I had the live market webinar at 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. local Singapore time, and we were looking at the UK pound yesterday. So during yesterday's market webinar, it was about here 900 hours at 2 p.m. when the webinar started, and at that point of time the UK pound was pretty quiet, and it did go up initially. So I took a buy trade, and well, from here 2 p.m. until the top, it moved about 37 pips. But by the time I entered the buy trade, it was quite high at about 1.2570 levels, I believe. Okay, so there was only like 10 to 15 pip profits, and later on it came down to a low of about 1.2524, okay, coming down about 50 pips. However, later on, another 3 hours later, it went up again, okay, to a high of 1.2583. Okay, so yesterday was a pretty quiet day, which is to be expected because it was already moving quite a lot on a Monday and also on a Tuesday. Okay, so yesterday's movements was quite subdued, and markets will wait for today's UK monetary policy release at 7 p.m. So yeah, so this was the data released yesterday at 2 p.m., which was the consumer price index numbers. The CPI, the general CPI numbers was in line at 0.5%. However, the core consumer price index numbers came in at 1.2%, below market expectations of 1.3%. Okay, so core CPI means that this is the consumer price index, which excludes energy, okay, which excludes energy, food, alcohol, and tobacco prices. Again, this is what we call the core CPI. And of course, another data yesterday was the housing starts in the US, which showed an increase of in the month of May, an increase of 4.3%, coming in at 974,000 applications for new houses versus 891,000 in the month of May. Okay, so that was the data coming out from the UK and also the US yesterday. So yeah, nothing major to shout about. Yesterday was a bit subdued and quiet day. However, we can still see certain price movements on the currencies and also on commodities. So let us move on to the technical charts analysis to understand the latest price action and also the latest market sentiment.